Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in a Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and it is almost mid-November right now. I can hardly believe it. We have a cold front that has started to come through right now and potential snow on the way. So I thought it would be fun to take a tour through the garden just to show you everything that's changed, because it's certainly looking a whole lot different now, and do a little walkabout to talk about some of the things that are coming up next that I have on my plans and some of the things that we've taken care of since the last time that we joined each other. All right, let's go. So as you can see in this area of the garden, we are at the point where the fountain has been put away, and sad to say it because I really enjoy having the fountain, but it's definitely important because it is a significant investment in the garden space and I really enjoy it. So having the cover is great. This is one that I got off Amazon, and it's much better than the old tarp that we used last year because it is form-fitting. Now we get a lot of snow in our area, or at least we can. So what we decided to do here is just to put a couple of bricks down around the bottom, and that just really helps with holding it in and keeping it taut so that the snow does not build up in the bowl. We have some spirea shrubs here. These are the two superstar spireas, and they are just glowing right now. So definitely a very late fall color on these, which is very welcome because right now a lot of things are past their prime in the garden, but this definitely brings a beautiful color. All of the shrubs have almost lost their leaves, but we do have a few of them still hanging on. This is a superstar spirea also over here, but it does not get quite as much sun, so it still seems to be quite a bit greener than the others. And then over here we have a forsythia that has held its leaves on for quite some time. They turned a really deep burgundy-ish purple, and now they're turning yellow before they fall off. So you'll see as we go through the garden that I have definitely tucked things in with a lot of leaves. We are pretty much done with the process of shredding and mulching. This lavender is looking beautiful still. I can't quite find it in me to cut off the stems, but they would be perfect for drying. I probably would have harvested them a little bit sooner if I was going to do that when they were still in nice peak color. The weigela that we planted is doing pretty good back here. It looks happy and healthy, and somebody said that the rabbits ate theirs, so I haven't had that happen yet. We are fighting off a mole right now. It's digging lots and lots of tunnels in our grass, unfortunately. So we've set a trap, but at this point we haven't caught anything. Now under here, I just want to point out, and through the rest of the garden, that foxgloves are a really great plant to have throughout the colder months because they provide some greenery where you might not otherwise have it. And the chartreuse and these mophead cypresses are just gorgeous. I mean, it really stands out against the dark colors of fall right now. Even the viburnum is losing its leaves, and I did come through and clean up this rudbeckia, which was starting to brown and be completely run over, but I left up the few blooms that are kind of standing still because I think they're really pretty and just very autumnal, I should say. That's the word I'm looking for. And this is a really beautiful mum. I love the color of it. It's definitely a later blooming mum. I would like to have a little bit more of it in my garden. If you look really closely, there's actually still buds back there that haven't even opened yet. And these limoncello barberries have definitely turned to all sorts of different colors. It definitely is very open feeling back here now. It feels a little bit bare. I'm missing some of the greenery, but it's a very different look and something that I try to embrace every year. Are your gardens put to sleep already? Have you already mulched them or done what you needed to do to cut things back or to leave things alone and you're done gardening for the year, I try to drag it out as long as I possibly can. And you can see I really have come through with the leaves and mulched this area. We actually have a bloom on the rose right now. It's not its typical vibrant colors, but it's still a flower. And those are a bit rare right now in the garden. However, I have some that are popping up over here that have just poked through this mum. So in between these sedums, we have this beautiful mum, which is also a late blooming mum. And you can just see this sweet daisy, birdie daisy, has a couple of flowers. They're not as robust as they normally are, but they sure are beautiful. The Weigela back here is turning a really beautiful color, and I'm excited to see it because I wasn't sure what color it would turn. Last year it was so small that I didn't get any fall color on it before the leaves fell, but I'm really thrilled with it because I have a lot of dark colors, and so it looks like it's going to be more of a bright orangey yellow, and so that will just help to continue to provide a variety of colors in the autumn. Now you can see that the chives, they really do well in cool season, so they will stay green for a very long time. And they are a little bit floppy right now. They're not as perky, but that's just the way that they are. But they do provide greenery. Can't wait to see these hydrangeas next year. We still have lots of little seed heads on the cute woodland flax here. Just look at all of those. And they're going to fly away and hopefully create lots more pretty little flowers next year. The woodland garden is also looking a bit bare, but it's really pretty to me right now because of the lines of the heucheras kind of along this side and along this side. It gives a little bit of structure still to the garden and the path, and the stones really start to stand out more this time of year because they're not covered by foliage from things like the hostas and anything else that might just kind of hang over the edge. So it really gives you a glimpse at that structure, but also some of the colors, they're so different. So I did come through here and make sure that we have plenty of leaf mulch on these beds. Some of it I just leave, so all of these honeysuckles that have beautiful red berries all over them right now are dropping their leaves. They're very late to drop their leaves every year, but they're such fine and thin leaves that I just let them fall, and I will blow them out of the path as they do that and into the garden beds to protect them. You can see we still have some really nice contrasting foliage in this garden bed right here. It will be fun to see how that catchfly fills in. So in this part of the garden we have some beautiful Brennera, and they continue to provide some late season interest. We have quite a few boxwoods that are balls throughout the garden, so that really helps. And then we have these macrorhizum geraniums that are scattered throughout the garden as well that continue to show green. And we're just starting to get a changeover of the Hakona Chloe grass over here, which you can see the beautiful seed heads. And would you believe it, Grandma's Blessings Rose over here has one last bloom it's really trying to put out for us. Isn't that beautiful? Such a gorgeous rose. I hope it performs better this next year. Definitely struggled this year with the drought and got some pretty significant freeze burn in the late freeze that we had this year. So everything's all tucked in right here, this pulmonaria. We definitely have lots of propagation of itself going on here, so it's dividing and creating new plants. So next year we should have a thicker patch of that. with some beautiful bulbs coming up in between them. And this jet stream hydrangea now is actually really putting on some nice color. I wasn't sure how this one would do because it's in more shade than some of the others, but it's doing really well. I'm quite happy with that. And this one over here is also changing color. They all seem to do something a little bit slightly different, which is the wonderful amazement of nature. The rhododendrons along here also provide some nice greenery still. And I think next year we're going to have to do some dividing of this Hakona Chloe grass. It's very thick. I feel like these days whenever I come outside to do a video, it's not necessarily windy, but somebody turns on a power machine, whether it's a leaf blower or a mower or a chainsaw, because everyone is busy getting ready for winter. And it does require quite a bit of preparation in our area, since once the snow falls, it definitely limits your ability to do things. I'm loving the way this bed looks right now. Still have some of those scabiosa flowers going, and the beautiful hydrangea here, the oak leaf hydrangea. This is another jet stream hydrangea. This one very, very red and purple burgundy. The path is nice and clear right now. As I said, I think we've got most of the leaves taken care of for the year. We may have some more, like I said, back there on the path where you've seen some of the honeysuckle bushes drop their leaves, but that should be about it. Now, I ran out of bulbs, so I was kind of disappointed I did not get to plant this part of my garden bed with bulbs. I might run out to Home Depot yet. We still probably have a couple more weeks of soil being able to plant in. It's clear though that the squirrels have been digging in here. There are small little holes everywhere and little divots where they are planting their seeds and their nuts for winter supplies. And one of the other things that we have done is come through and pick up all of the concrete statuary that we have. So you'll see some of the things are missing from the garden that we once had, like the Buddhas and some of the little stands that we had, and we have covered up our furniture as well. It's really important to take concrete type statuary inside for the most part. Many of them are not formed or treated well enough or from the correct materials to be able to overwinter and withstand frequent freezes and thaws. The water will get in between the small little pores of the concrete and just break it apart. So if you've invested money in something like that, you definitely want to take care of it before the winter comes. And we've got the 9-barks losing their leaf even now. Look at that beautiful hydrangea. Boy, I hope it does well in this area. I love that tree. Everything seems happy after we transplanted it in this area, and I have not come through and had the heart to clean up some of the echinacea heads in here, because definitely the birds are still eating on them. I see them coming through, and since it's gotten colder, I've just let them stand. But yeah, losing lots and lots more leaves in this area. I get a lot of questions, do I leave the leaves out in the garden beds, or do I clean them out before I put mulch down in the spring? So for the most part, I leave them right where they're at. They break down quite a bit over the winter time, and they provide such great fertility and a different type from what's in the wood mulch. So it's important for a little bit of diversity of organic matter in the garden beds. So that's why I leave it, and it's not so thick that it's going to stop plants from growing. So I would say between 1 to 2 inches, at this point is fine. And a lot of that is air and fluff And so it kind of will break down and be a very, very thin layer in the spring, and plants can grow right through it. We still have lots of seeds on our coral berries, or berries I should say. They're turning a little bit more white now as they bleach out, and some of them are being eaten by the birds. And this Pinkadot phlox, man, it just seems to have had flowers most of the season, even if they're small ones. This garden bed looks a little empty now without the lady in it. But I think what I'm going to do actually is, if I have time, take this Rainbow Sensation shrub and just move it up a little bit to where the lady's head was. And then I might put the lady's head over here where the irises are. Next spring, of course. She's going to be sleeping for the winter or hibernating at this point. I love the color on this dark horse white Gila. It's been very beautiful. And we've gotten some pretty color on these Concord barberries as well. So some leaves I have not shredded on this side because they just have fallen, and it's a nice light layer, so I'm not worried about them having to be shredded. It's only when they come down in a very heavy layer that it's really important to me to shred them before I put them on the garden. You can see the asparagus fern here is starting to yellow. Super pretty. And the potager still has quite a bit of interest for me. As you head into the front yard, we'll see that we have still lots of debris gathering and pot emptying happening. So the compost bins are definitely getting their workout. Hopefully this winter I will have time to be able to create a second one, and last time we created the big one in the way back, it was snowing out. Isn't this a beautiful view right now? This is another area where I have not come through and cleaned up the coneflowers heads. I was planning to, but then you can just see how much the birds are coming through and eating on those coneflower heads. And I don't want to deprive them of those seeds that they really do need. Started taking all of the hoses in as well. Here, if they freeze, that can damage them. And we'll also turn off the water to the outside faucets very soon. All really important things to take care of if you live in a really cold climate. So we're at the end of our fall color here in this garden bed, but one of the things that will just continue throughout the winter is this Virginia. I did do some dividing of this along this edge and hope to continue it along. So you can see I have one right here and one right over here. And hopefully those will do well and come back next spring. I do love the way that they look along the edges, and they have really pretty flowers when they bloom. Another thing that I did was, and we'll see how this goes, you guys, fingers crossed, I dug up my blue shadow fothergilla. I don't know if you can tell here, but I have 3 separate shrubs here. So I separated it out because it looked like it could be, because I'm really hoping those will grow up, and having more of a width there will provide more of a screen for that air conditioner back there for most of the season. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously the viburnum is going to get bigger, and so will the other shrubs that are back there, but every little bit always helps. Sometimes you don't know how plants will perform, so I don't like to put all my nickels in the same slot machine. This garden bed looks super cute now, I think. Some people may think it doesn't look as good as it did when I cleaned it out of the leaves, but after we shredded them up, I came back through and I put in a nice thick layer of shredded leaves, and it is all nicely insulated for the winter. And you can see the hellebores even better now. They just pop right through those shredded leaves and look beautiful. So out here in the sun garden, things are looking very fallish still. We still have lots of blooms on the purple mums, which is lovely. I'm really considering replacing the orange mums because they had such a short bloom time this year. Now, I'm not sure if that was related to the weather this year or not. So I might give them one more year before I make any changes there. But I've said this a million times before, but in my garden, you really have to work hard and perform hard to stick around. A week or two of blooms is not necessarily going to cut it. These irises are doing great. I really think we might get some nice blooms on them next year. Those are going to be dark purple. They're called His Royal Highness. And the oak leaf hydrangea is starting to bare its bones as well as the leaves fall off. But it has such beautiful, interesting bark that will become more of a focal point than the leaves as the seasons progress. I hope to continue to have these bobo hydrangeas out here with their beautiful little seed heads or flower heads, because the dried panicles look so pretty and will look so pretty with snow on them. Unfortunately, on this new one over here, they did not bloom this summer, so I don't have any, but next year, something to look forward to for sure. Also, something to look forward to next year is this viburnum, this wabi-sabi viburnum. This one should really fill in. I moved it out from under the canopy of the cherry tree a little bit further, as you guys saw, and that should help provide it with a little bit more sunlight, a little bit more access to water and nutrients. So I'm hoping that really enhances its performance. And then you can see we added shredded leaves throughout this garden bed as well. Here's the pretty seed heads on this sedum. And this garden bed probably could have used a little bit more leaf mulch out here in front, but we did actually end up running out. So I wanted to make sure to use it around the hydrangeas and was not concerned about the sedums. They really don't need a lot of mulch. It can keep them a little too wet and then they can get leggy. So I think this looks so pretty still right now though, don't you? So over here at the mailbox bed, I am excited to show you that I have gotten my matching trellis over here on this side. I did not plant a clematis. So we'll see. I might just try to grow the other clematis up and over. But you can see down here, I did pull the rocks back to the riverbed. So I have a bit of space in here and I will need to come back through and fill it up with some of that really good compost. Crazy enough, I actually see some tips of daffodils coming up. Do you see that little green? Yeah, they're a little confused, I guess. Hopefully they stay there and don't make any more of an appearance. I'm sure this cold front coming through will help with that. All right, so this garden bed looks really good. It's pretty much put away. I did not do any leaf mulching in here. The wood chips here are still pretty thick and breaking down from the initial application to create the bed. But next year, I'm definitely going to have to add some good amounts of mulch, and it will really help to continue to feed these plants. But they're definitely happy. This bed has performed better than I anticipated, just being able to plant in it right away the next season after using arborist wood chips. I'll be interested to see how much of these pretty blue grasses we'll be able to see throughout the winter, because they're spiky and will look really cute poking out through the snow. I also haven't cut back the seed heads on this rudbeckia because They're so pretty. They just look at these little black pom-poms, and the birds could also benefit from eating those as well. Almost all of the berries are off of this weeping crabapple here. So the birds or the squirrels and chipmunks or whatever has gotten them and eaten them and enjoyed them. This garden bed got a little bit of leaf mulch as well around the shrubs. I really wanted to move this planter that's back here in front of the tree up front here, just to kind of elevate this garden bed a little bit further. It is a bunch of, gosh, what do I have right here? These are salvias. So I wanted to dig up these salvias, take the rhubarb out of that and put them by the pool in those pots, because they're so big and large and they look kind of tropical. And then fill it with these salvias right here. So it's way too late though in the season. I ran out of time to be able to do that, but that's okay. Maybe next year. And back behind here, you'll see the golden false cypress that I planted. This was from the backyard. It was in too much shade, so it's kind of leggy. Hopefully the deer won't eat it down to a nub this year. I might have to cover it with a little bit of netting for the winter time, but I think that's going to be a really nice foil once it lightens up and brightens up from being in more sunshine and fills in, and will provide a little bit of height and interest. So we'll see how it does. So far they haven't eaten it. It's been out here for a few weeks, and I'm going to try not to say anything else about that so I don't jinx it. Some people might think that it looks a little sad over here where the ferns are kind of curling up and drying, but to me this is like classic autumn. It's just beautiful to me to see the crumbling ferns and the beautiful azalea right in here with its deep, rich, dark red colors, and the dried blooms of the hydrangea standard. And I wasn't sure what color this was going to be, but this is the Eastern Snowball Viburnum, and it's beautiful. It actually does stand out against the bricks, and next year I anticipate it's going to be much fuller. I'd like to create it and keep it in this semi-standard form, but next year if it blooms, I'll wait till after it blooms to kind of give it a trim back to try to make it a little bit bushier next year. And it will be fun to just make sure that I keep this, you know, at a height that I can actually continue to trim over the years. The burning bush has lost all of its leaves, but it looks pretty cool if you ask me, with all these little spiky branches and the different colors of bark. So that's the tour for today, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming along. And I hope everything in your garden is getting tucked in for the winter, and that you don't feel too overwhelmed by all the tasks, or that you're getting done with them and enjoying some nice warm beverages inside by the fire or even outside by fire. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. Bye.